Good evening.
This is Siddhi Lanke, Publicity Representative of Social Welfare and Development Committee of Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, Pune, taking the pleasure to host today's podcast. Our committee has organized a campaign called as Rejuvenating Rashtra, which throws light on the COVID pandemic and on its social and economic fronts. Through this, we provide a platform to address these issues and try to produce solutions on how we can overcome them on our level. This podcast will be the part of same campaign. Today, 15th August, on this auspicious and nationally important day, I feel honored to talk about today's guest, Dr. Hari Balaji, IPS, presently Superintendent of Police of Amravati. I welcome you, sir, on behalf of Social Welfare Development Committee and Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, Pune. Sir, with your permission, shall we begin with the podcast?
Yeah, we'll begin.
Okay. So, as we all know that the police force is on duty 24/7. We as a citizen are overwhelmed and appreciate your efforts and sacrifice duly. But in this situation, as we know, 2,000 police officers got infected. So, how do you motivate your fellow police officers to work with same dedication and consistency in piles of depression and anxiety?
Shall I give you some brief of the lockdown, or shall I directly go into the motivation part? So, how to proceed in this?
Okay, sir. I was given some questions, so I am trying to ask those.
Okay, so directly we go into the questions part, or just I'll brief for some 10 minutes, or then we can go into the question part.
Okay,
So how
okay,
you are
sir.
going to?
Yes, sir. It will be fine. We'll edit the content. Okay,
Okay,
accordingly.
just edit the content. Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes, yes, yes.
So this lockdown was completely new to everyone, even for the citizens and even for the government and government servants. So
Yes,
you knew that.
yes,
So it's new in such a sense that it's sudden. Actually, it's not not announced in so advance. So so for police, any kind of lockdown, it is like only their genetics perceive only in the sense of police genetics perceive only in the sense of and law and order. So far whatever lockdown has happened, it has happened only on perspective of law and order. So this is a new scenario which was happening. So even the police doesn't know how to control the public and how to control the movement of the public. So the initial days, few days in the March and few days in the April, the dilemma happened how to control the public. So initial they resorted to Lati and resorted to force and to bring people under control for not doing movements. And then later on everything changed. People became little aware and every social media messages were spreading. So the force use were reduced and then people start cooperating. It was a kind of a win-win situation both for people and for the police.
okay.
And there are a lot of psychological issues behind that, behind this lockdown, because since it was sudden and unexpected, so the people, the frontline workers, typically police and doctors, they are dealing with the emotions of the public. So everyone thinks that they need to move from a point A to B in need of an urgency or an emergency. But the person who is on the field, so he can't differentiate, he can't question, and he can't interrogate or inquire every person in detail and allow or not allow. So he, in general, what is expected out of the person standing in the field, standing in the Naka is to stop everyone. So this has become a emotional and a sensitive issue for many people. So it might be a kind of an urgent need, but the system is not hearing to their urgent need. So this became very sensitive issue, and here and there many incidents have happened. Clashes with the even frontline workers, even the police, and even with the medical staff that you would have been well aware of.
Yes.
So these are the highlights which I am doing. And initial, I can divide into an initial phase and the later phase in the lockdown, the police response. Initial phase was like completely controlling the movement with allowing the essential movement. Completely shutting down the city, towns, and every places, and with allowing the essential movement. So this became a bigger task. So mainly the issue we faced was migrant laborers, stranded students. So how to evacuate them, because they were one is the food and another is an fear factor, and they want to move out desperately. So the pressure was building among public to move out, building among these people to move out soon. So that was a difficulty which we faced in the initial phase, and after that some movements were done mainly for this migrant laborers and standard students. And during this time, the children and elderly, and especially in rural areas, in city medicals, some of the hospitals are running, and you won't find much difficulty in city. But in rural areas, people face so many difficulties because the transport was not done, the bus was completely shut down, and we arranged some ambulances with the help of local administration. We arranged ambulances at selective places, but it can't cater the need of each and every public. So children who are suffering and elderly, and during that time it's a peak summer, so many other infections are also going through. So people suffered a lot in that aspect, mainly because of the lack of connectivity.
Yes.
And the same, if you see the working condition of the police during that time, so it's mainly the first thing is the fear of the disease. So the fear of the disease is spreading globally, and some people have to work compulsory in the field. So they were fearing, what if we get it, and what if through us our family get it. So that fear, so cutting that fear was a big task for us. So that is one thing. And then for cutting that fear, we need to create awareness, and we need to make them follow certain steps which are needed to prevent the infection. These were done. So you know that the hot water and so many precautionary medicines and many things we did. That is one among that thing. And the second is the temperature in which they were working. So March, April, May, typically it's April, May, the temperature rising to a very worst extent. So at that time, standing in a place to completely shield the place is that was a bigger task. So that was another difficulty we faced. And logistics is the expected and delivered. The expected versus delivered, you can always say. So at every time the things were shifting. So initially everybody were running behind N95 mask. So everybody expectation would be like, if I get that thing, then I might be in a safer side. So and then face shield came, and then some preventive tablets, some Ayurvedic tablets came. So the expectation at each week was rising, and then the satisfying that expectation, it won't immediately, because so many mass number of police are working in the field. So immediately that was not done. So but eventually that was done, and that expectation at that particular point of time, that was a challenge for us to satisfy them immediately at that point of time. And other issues were that since we were not used to this many people going in, so tent, water, and food supplies, that's a minimal issue we face. And how to differentiate the essential and non-essential people trafficking and the traffic. So essential people started misusing this essential part. So they used to roam freely because people are not used to the inertia. So they, to overcome the inertia, that some timing were fixed, 8 to 12, 8 to 2. So everybody started moving out. So in the name of essential, they will take something, and I need to go and buy milk and this thing and that thing. So in city, it's a different challenge. In rural areas, it's a completely different challenge, because rural area, they have the tag of I am going to a field which is like 10 kilometers away. So you can't stop that person also, because agriculture field and agriculture produce and everything was completely exempted, and it was a clear instruction to us, and we gave clear instruction to our subordinates that none of the people should suffer in the name of lockdown in the agri business. So we had no option. So people misuse this essential tag, and many people are moving out. And because of that, we can say at some places the infection were carried from one place to other. So this was a bigger task which we faced. So these are the phases which I am quoting. First phase is that March-April phase. People had some discipline, and they tried to misuse only in a partial way. But later phases, this June-July phases, the discipline were reduced actually, and the fear factor is also reduced actually. And then parallelly the infection was also growing on a higher rate. So we can divide into two clear phases. The initial phase where a lot of fear and discipline was there, and second phase which is now going. So now I can't say that people are disciplined actually. The awareness is completely awareness is there, but in spite they are not following the rules which they need to follow. So these are the basic things which happened during Corona time. And in respect to crimes, which is a bread and butter to the police, in respect to crime, if you say crime, it's the same two phases. In the first phase, crime was drastically reduced because no one is moving out, so there is no fighting, nothing except some domestical violence, that too in city areas. In rural areas, since they had space, it was not much reported. So these were the one part actually. And second thing is the spreading of rumors, because sitting in home they just need some entertainment. April came, April Fool and something. So many social media rumors were spreading. So these were the things which were happening as a crime, if you see. But overall, normal Indian Penal Code section crimes were reduced a lot actually. But in the second phase, which I am saying, when the lockdown were little relaxed and people started moving out, actually the crime got shooted up. And there is a sudden spike, which was like more than the average crimes which it used to happen. So in the May, June, and July, what happened is it's an spike phase. So crimes were shooting up because so many migrant laborers and people who were in some other business or some other factories, they were working in factories. Everyone came back to their native places. So at the same time, the agriculture also started. So it's a season, Kharif season. So what happened? Fight in regard to the agri field. That is one thing, and just as a fight for entertainment, because they have nothing. Employment factor is not there. So we saw a rise in the crimes in the second phase, from May to July actually. So these are the in response to crime, I can say. And our police response towards fighting Corona and helping people in Corona, I can divide into two things. One with respect to public and with respect to our own force. So with respect to public, as I said earlier, controlling the movements and rumor to control the spreading of rumors, especially in April and those times. And and you know that this had a communal tag. So since that public issue started, so this had a communal tag, and many messages were spreading in the name of Corona, giving some communal color to it. So that was a challenge at that time. And quarantine centers, because lot of quarantine centers and some two centers to accommodate the migrant laborers and students, they were kept. And some people started committing suicides in that centers, and that became a big task. So these were these I can say with respect to public in controlling part. In helping part, we did a lot in reaching out to the public, reaching out to the needy actually, because many people who were dependent on the daily wages, they were suffering a lot actually. Yes. And so reaching out to them, that we did a lot. So, and ensuring the supply of even government and NGOs. So government also started giving rations, and many NGOs came forward. Many people came forward in giving rations. So to supply them, to supply them with safety, so that we did a good part. And we also organize specific based on the needs of the public. We help them. Suppose some cancer patient were there, so getting medicine for them, and for some even for the sanitary pads for the girls and women. So the specific needs were addressed by an approach where the police station officer, he used to collect information from the ground level information, what are the needs, and what time they were needed. So the charts were made, and then these things were done. So many people were satisfied in that kind of approach. And with respect to our own force, as I said earlier, it's the fear which we need to overcome. So immediately we created a lot of awareness, because in the name of Corona, everybody became literally doctors without studying a medical degree. So lot of messages and false messages were circulated. So we gave the clear perspective, and giving a perspective on a single day doesn't help. So it has to be given on a daily basis. So in the roll call in the police station, we gave them continuous messages that this is what you need to do, and this is what you should not do. You just avoid not doing this, and you will be completely safe. So these were the things which we were. This is a basic awareness part which we were doing. And apart from that, so since 50 plus is vulnerable age group, everybody know. So what we did is we did a novel thing in categorizing the people, categorizing the police. So what diseases they were suffering. So we did a profile actually. So what diseases they were suffering and whether they are prone to corona or not. So entire force, almost around 2,700 people are here, 2,500 constables, and almost 200 officers are there.
Okay.
So for everyone we did medical profiling, and based on the medical profiling, people who are vulnerable and people who are prone to the infection, so they were given the duties which were lighter, and which would attract less infection, and which would attract distance from the public. So some kind of office duties like that they were allotted. So that was a big thing which we took. Because of that, controlling the disease spread among the force, that was reduced actually. And apart from this, other measures, this sanitation, installing the machines in each police station, and personal things, this mask, facial, hand sanitizers, and these things were provided on a regular basis. So these were the measures which we took, so that we distance ourselves from the infection part. Obviously, police station can't be shut down at any time. So these were the measures. Because of that, only 9 people have been infected, and 9 has also been discharged, and everybody is safe now. So no issue as of now with us actually. We also did a raincoat distribution and everything. So in the rain, the immunity should not be dropped, and infection, they should not get infection. So that we did as a preventive measure.
Okay. So as you said, the police officers have to stand in the hot sun and control all the gatherings. But nowadays, what is happening is, as the number is increasing, but the people are becoming reluctant to follow the guidelines, and mass gatherings are happening again. So what do you think? What measures or more police officers are required, or what the exact scenario can be to control this?
See, as you said rightly, the people are gathering again because markets are open.
Yes.
And the other thing is the containment zones are also increasing.
Yes.
So containment zone, there is a norm that minimum these many security persons have to be there. And at the other end, this market, since it is open, coming to the same point, you can't control this by means of a force. So it's basically, initially the social distancing that was followed meticulously actually. That were followed. But now each and every person, you can't go and check in whether inside shop whether they are maintaining it, or in each shop they are maintaining it. It's really difficult actually. If you divide the force for a street, you can maximum afford a single constable, or at the maximum two.
Yeah.
So how many? If he is in a duty for a 12 hours, it's practically, if we are standing at that place, if you are standing at that place, at the initial 1 hour you might be motivated to tell them, okay.
Yes.
And second hour you will be little bit tired, and third hour you will be sitting at a side, just seeing the pittiness of the people, how these people are responding to you. And fourth hour you will be completely ignoring them. So that is the psychology which typically happens to each and everyone who is standing there. So basically, public has to act. For public awareness, they have to obey actually. So that is reducing. That's the sorry state of affairs.
Okay, so for these people who are not responding in the desired manner, should there be any laws or anything for them, like who are disobeying the rules?
We are doing fine in coalition with the local administration. We are doing fine, and we are announcing. Still, we are announcing. Yeah, at some point, some people respond excellently.
Yeah.
At some places, when the vehicle is roaming or when people are coming for fine, they behave in a well-mannered way. And once the vehicle goes away, they try to behave in their own way. So that is happening actually.
Okay. So, and in some areas, we have also seen that the person who is considered as positive, corona positive, they refuse to go to the corona centers or the COVID centers, and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
they run away. So, how is that situation handled exactly?
So when during the initial phase, people had that fear, so they came forward. So
Okay.
what you are asking is, in the recent times, it is getting increased actually,
Yes, sir.
because of the aversion of a person towards government hospital, or he don't like to be caged in a, he don't want to be in a caged atmosphere, and typically less than 40, they are super confident that nothing can happen. So this is still happening, and to many people doesn't even report actually. When the
Yeah.
symptoms, they are not, until and unless that symptoms are not reported, so nobody can do about it, no. So
Yes.
it is happening. So once we know that, once suppose in a contact tracing, if suppose you have been affected, and if I have come in contact with you, and if you tell that this person came in contact with me, so then we are catching them actually. That is happening actually. But
Okay.
if since community spread has started, so if some person is not reporting, and if he is doing such kind of things, it's seriously, we are not in a position to do anything.
Okay, sir. So, and for the police officers who get infected, are there any special treatments to them, or like as they are serving the nation? So, do they receive any special treatment or?
Yes, special hospitals have been allocated. So
Okay.
special private hospitals we have tied up. So
Okay.
in case of any for the asymptomatic people, or for the minimum symptoms, they are being managed in a simple hospital setup. But if they are getting serious infection, or if getting complication, we have tied up with good care hospital. So it's not an issue now. And the government has also giving special grant, and through our welfare also we are giving special grant to them. So it's not an issue as of now.
Okay, sir. And sir, you also previously said that you wrote down some do's and don'ts for the people. So I would just, if you could tell some of them do's and don'ts to our listeners.
Yeah, do's and don'ts is because since our people are coming in routine contact with the public, so it's an usual habit that whenever whoever comes near to you, it's known people. If suppose if you are serving in a police station, and if you are serving in an area, the people in the area will be some people will be like very close to you. So it's a general assumption which you used to take that. Okay, this person might not be infected, so he is very close to me. We treat them like a relative or family member. So the infection starts from there actually. The motto, the motto which we ask them to remember each and every time is, whoever is nearby you.
Okay.
You just assume them as a patient.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever, except your wife, your parents, and your kid in home,
Mm-hmm.
whoever, even your neighborhood, even your work colleague, even your senior, even if I come to a police station, if I am speaking in front of you, assume that if SP is speaking in front of you, just assume that SP is, so that this kind of thought should be there within you 24/7,
Oh.
so that you can prevent your infection. You keep a suspicion eye on each and every person, so that you automatically maintain a distance, 3 feet, 4 feet. So this is a minimal criteria. So these were enforced on a daily basis, reinforced to each and everyone on a daily basis. So that helped actually. And other common do's and don'ts, that don't touch here and that, the common do's, and apart from that thing, these are the specific thing which we reinforce them on a daily basis actually.
Okay. Okay, sir. So lastly, I would like to ask any message you want to give to our listeners, like any general message related to this COVID pandemic.
One and only message is the same thing which I told to my partner.
Yes, sir.
So think that anyone in front of you is infected. So that is the best approach. It is not, since you are students and you are in age group, that nothing will happen to us. Definitely
Yes,
nothing will happen to you. But
sir.
mainly because of this age group, the elderly or the vulnerable people are getting infected. So it is each and everyone responsibility in the society that we don't make the chain go again and again, and chain go forward. So if everyone is started, if everyone starts behaving responsibly with this so-called social distancing, definitely the chain can be completely cut, and the infection rate will be reduced. So that is the request, and that is the message which I need to give.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. Your words will surely help our listeners, and I feel so honored to talk to you, sir.
Thank you,
Yes.
thank you, Shruti.